I know it's been a while, but I just wanted to talk about the uh, the confrontation between Proud Boys and Antifa. Most of you probably heard about it, but I'll just give a brief rundown of what happened. As some of you might know, last week the Metropolitan Republican Club, which is a club in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which runs Republican campaigns and hosts conservatives and Republicans for speaking engagements. Tucker Carlson gave a speech and did a book signing a few weeks ago. Things of that sort. They were vandalized by Antifa, and they they glued their I think they glued their doors. They spray painted the idiotic anarcho-communist symbol and threatened to carry out more acts of sabotage and vandalism, basically. And that was the prelude to a speech by Gavin McInnes, founder of the Proud Boys, ex-editor of Vice, all around enfant terrible of the alt-right, a speech that he would make to the Met Club. And of course, there were hundreds of these radical, degenerate, anarcho-ancoms and leftists trying to suppress the speech, and they were attacking people. They were attacking people who had gone there to see Gavin McInnes speak. This is something that the media, in its wisdom, chose not to cover for some reason. Instead, they had lots of splashy headlines about a group of Proud Boys who retaliated against a group of Antifa who had been attacking them. And you may have seen video of them kicking an Antifa who was on the ground. But what happened prior to that was a group of Antifa had just attacked someone wearing a MAGA hat, presumably one of the Proud Boys or someone who went there to see Gavin McInnes speak. So what you basically had was a group of radical Marxist or crypto-Marxist thugs putting in place creating a situation where they could run riot and enact mayhem. Basically, But what the media reported was a group of racist, quote-unquote racist, xenophobic, white supremacist lunatics going nuts, which is odd since the Proud Boys is multiracial. And the interesting part is the media is forced to acknowledge that, because you can't have footage of a multiracial group of people and yet maintain that they're white supremacists. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, well, these are new white supremacists who somehow don't have problem mingling and being friends with people who aren't white. It's absurd, but that's the sort of environment we live in. But I want to focus on the reaction of the Republican establishment specifically, because in the aftermath of this, the media is trying to cast aspersions on trying to connect the Republican Party to Proud Boys and through guilt by association impugn their character and the character of anyone who's left of Nancy Pelosi, basically. And just a few examples of this. Fred Dicker, who's actually a pretty good journalist, otherwise, was pressing John Faso, a member of Congress from upstate New York, trying to get him to disavow the Proud Boys and their agenda, even though, according to him, he knows very little, if anything, about this group. And he said he got him to disavow, but to what end, I'm not quite sure. And another gay Republican, I think his name is Pete Holmberg, who I actually met at an unrelated gathering of conservatives, also came out with a statement, or not with a statement. He was on some sort of podcast where he distanced himself from the Proud Boys, and all of these, and the Met Club itself, and the chairman of the GOP, Ed Cox. I'm not a huge fan of Ed Cox, but I have to give him credit for not taking the bait and going along with this media narrative that the Proud Boys should be, or Gavin McInnes should be rejected because of a media-generated myth. But in general, the Republican Party has the pusillanimous Republican Party in New York has condemned the Proud Boys. Now, regardless of whether you think what they do is a good idea, confronting Antifa and standing up to their domestic terrorism, personally, I don't go to events where I'm likely to be confronted by masked lunatics, confronted by domestic terrorists. But I don't even cover the events of the radical left or Islamists any longer for my website, which is dormant, which I don't update any longer. But the point is, you don't need to be on the battle lines with the Proud Boys. You don't need to go and confront Antifa directly to be attacked. We have members of Congress. We have the former Attorney General, Mr. Fast and Furious himself, Eric Holder. We have Hillary Clinton telling people to go and attack and confront and assault Republicans, ordinary Republicans, not even when they're peaceably assembling for political action or redress of their grievances. Just in general, like on the street, you could be punched in the face for not even wearing a MAGA hat, just being identified as a Republican. And there's also a racialized cast to this now, where they're attacking white people under the auspices that they're automatically Donald Trump supporters. And you see this theme repeatedly in outlets like The Root and racist publications from the left, that white people are collectively guilty for Donald Trump's presidency, with the assumption that that's a bad thing that Donald Trump is president, but that white people, they impute collective guilt to all of us, and therefore most of them are not spelling out what people should do, but the implication is that they should be assaulted and beaten for the fact that they exercise their right to vote for a particular candidate that this group despises. And this is going to keep going on, whether or not you like the Proud Boys' tactics or you think it's politically efficacious. I mean, it's really kind of a moot point. it doesn't really matter whether you're a fan of the Proud Boys and their particular strategy, or whether you're not. So, unless these people are going to become full-blown social justice warriors or communists, and just sign up with Nancy Pelosi, unless they want to do that, they're still going to be targets. So I don't see what the point is in distancing yourself from, excuse me, from Gavin McInnes and people like Gavin McInnes, regardless of what you think of his political strategy. It's pointless unless you're going to completely surrender. They're not going to let you get off the hook. They want to create a society, and this is the society we inhabit, unfortunately, now, where people are attacked and assaulted and beaten for having dissenting viewpoints. That's basically where we're at now. So if you want to live in that type of society, then yes, go ahead. Castigate Gavin McInnes and anyone like him. It stands up for. It stands up to a tyrannical. It stands up to the heckler's veto. But if you don't, then show some gumption and stick up for the Constitution, at the very least, the Bill of Rights.